This is the house.
Yeah, it's where I bought it from.
Cater.
There you go.
Right. Here.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies for a late start. My name is Rob Malasky. I'm the chair of the meeting. Other planning commission members, including my immediate left, Mr. Matt Malozzi, Mr. Tom Barker, and Ms. Joy Cohen. Anyone here in attendance today, we ask you silence your cell phones at this time. We have a short agenda this evening. We have one agenda item. We're going to allow the applicant to present their project. We will allow city staff to provide an overview, and then planning commission members will have an opportunity to ask questions relating to the project. Anyone in attendance tonight that has any questions or concerns on the project, we ask that you come to the podium, sign their name and address, email, and adhere to a 5-minute time limit. All comments on the related project should be related to the land use issues of the project. After all interested parties have had an opportunity to speak, planning commission members will have one final opportunity to deliberate, and the decision from there will be made. The review of the planning commission is based on provisions of the Saldo zoning ordinance and other ordinances. Decisions will be made on these ordinances, recommendation of the city staff, pertinent public comment, and the public good. Our first agenda item, approval of the July 18th, 2024 minutes. Any discussion on the minutes as written? Can we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the July 18th, 2024 minutes of the planning commission.
Motion made, Mr. Lozzi. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Barker. Roll, please.
Mr. Malosky.
Yes.
Mr. Malozzi.
Yes.
Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Ms. Cohen.
Abstain.
Ms. Cole was not a president in time. She abstains. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Land development plan review at 1024 Blake Street. Will the applicant introduce yourself, and you may begin.
Hi, my name's Roderick Chirumbolo, the engineer for 1024 Blake Street. Nick is my client. He's looking to develop the lot with 4 townhomes. The lot is currently vacant. It sits on the south side of Blake Street. Medium density residential district. And there's nothing on the lot. There's no vegetation. It's a relatively flat lot. It's adjacent to a recently approved apartment complex. It's a building that's being constructed. Utilities are going to be public. There's a sewer and water. Sewer and water are going to be coming from the adjacent lots. There's agreements in place for those. The 8 units require 7 parking spaces. There's a driveway on the lot that brings parking for residents to the rear of the building, and the parking is back there with room to maneuver, park in and out. Impervious coverage is under 10,000 square feet. I think it's 9,600 square feet. So there's no stormwater proposed for the site. Pretty basic. There's a bicycle parking over here. There's 1 handicap stall proposed. The water connection is going to come off of an existing water that they're using for the adjacent building here, and the sewer is going to be extended off of their sewer line again from that building. Gravity sewer is in place for that, and that was it. There's a concrete sidewalk, a 5-foot easement or sidewalk along Lake Street to connect the one they're doing there. Hopefully, it will eventually to go all the way down the road. There's an easement in place for that. And we did receive a review letter from your office. I believe the only issue on there might be the request for, well, there's a couple things I would like to discuss, but the one is the engineer suggested we put an inlet in the back corner of the parking lot and pipe the stormwater out to Lake Street to an inlet that they're installing next to the parking lot. My suggestion would be to, since we're under 10,000 square feet, if we just made this back instead of a full side curve, we made it a depressed curve and let stormwater flow off of that parking lot into the fields in the back. I think that would alleviate any sort of ponding issues with this one.
What was on this plot of land before?
Nothing to my knowledge, it's completely vacant.
This,
There's no foundations on it.
Ms. Heller, there wasn't anything.
Can you see on here? Maybe you can zoom in a little bit.
Yes, that'd be great.
Yeah, here, this is the open spot, and actually, Craig was gonna go over this, but was a rezoning for that area, and so there's 4 buildings that were
Widen out.
widened out. Okay, sorry, I made him go the wrong
No,
way.
no, that's all right.
So for location, this is Linden Street, Spring Garden Elementary.
Got it. Got it. The reason I had asked, I know there's other projects that we've done we've
Right.
approved in the past back there, so I wasn't certain on the,
Yeah,
This overall project came before you most recently in August of 2022.
I'm not losing.
no, you're not losing it.
Still, Ms. Heller, I still have a
You're on
pretty
it.
sharp
Yep.
counselor.
I
Thank,
was proud that I remembered this from a
I-
couple years ago too. We
Ms.
discussed this
Heller,
today.
thank you. Planning Commission members, any questions as of now for the applicant in terms of the project here at 1024 Lake Street? Mr. Malozzi, yes, sir.
Recording or for?
You might need to hit, if yours isn't on.
Button.
Not that I can't project. Question about the stormwater. So is the city's recommendation, is there storm sewer located out there that, I see the catch basin comment here.
This apartment complex, putting an inlet, you can see on the area there in Lake Street, you can see the across Lake Street, they put a pipe, storm pipe in. And right in front of that white truck on the street, there's a new inlet. So they would want us to come out to Lake Street, put another inlet here, and then shoot down the first line, fine for that. And we'd have a conflict of the sewer and the water over here. We would not be able to get that storm out of there. We would have to do a portion of the sewer, route it all the way around.
Mr. Piper, do we have anyone from engineering that can go in a little bit more detail on Mr. Malozzi's question concerning the catch basin? I don't see an engineer here, but I'm assuming that's where that came from.
Correct. And Mr. Yandam can be present if we need him to be. We can send him a note. He unfortunately has a conflict for this evening, but can be available on an as-needed basis. So I can send him a note and ask him to come down. Or if you
Certainly, I'm not trying to get him here, but I would assume that Mr. Yandam at least explained to our office of the necessity as it is written for the catch basin. Yes?
Correct.
Are you aware of that?
I'm aware of the comment. Yes.
I believe if it's under 10,000 square feet of disturbance, it's not required.
I believe his only concern was that I was proposing a curve here. So the storm was coming this way, so naturally it's not
Right.
If I relieve the ponding by putting the pressed curb in and let the sheet flow in. Stormwater issue is
Then I think there needs to be some engineering determination about then if that is flowing southward, is that affecting the property? There's single-family homes to the south of that. Is it affecting those properties? And I'm not an engineer, so
It would flow that way. There's a low point here. I'm not sure if ponding occurs there naturally now. We wouldn't want to inundate the property below, but I think it's actually good, so. not that that matters, but, There's a single family home about 150 feet away from the parking lot. And I had a conversation with the engineer after the meeting and discussed options for that. Rather not do the storm sewer.
I don't know if Mr. Malozzi, that muddied your question even more, or did that, I guess,
I would suggest that, yes, that I'd like to have the city engineer have an opportunity to discuss that with you. Make sure that they, because it could be important. I mean, if it did create an adverse impact to the other residents or anything. I don't know. I can see the topography, as you pointed out, is relatively flat, but
He's not here, so I can't speak technically, but from this point, is the only, the parking lot is the only storm. The roof drains are going towards Lake Street, the driveway's going towards Lake Street. So it's a small portion that is, and I would suggest it or recommend it if I thought it was going to fall in the shoot to the property to the south, but we want to stop the
that would be my suggestion, is just to provide an opportunity for city engineer to comment on that request, since it's immediate from the letter. It is comment on the letter. And then said it, from the way it's worded, I couldn't tell it, or for sewage planning, or did you file for an exemption, or do you have to go through full? Okay, so you're just awaiting. Fire department review is still pending, or has that taken place?
Fire department review, I keep writing my response to the same questions, and I just get the same questions back. It's not intended for a fire truck to come in to the back of the building. I would imagine that if the building is on fire, they wouldn't want to be that close. There's the same scenario with this lot back here. So I can't do a fire truck turnaround. Thought was if a fire truck ever came in here, they'd have to back out. Which I've seen done on many occasions. My son was a firefighter. I've seen it happen. Do a fire truck turnaround here. So I made that comment before. Fire comment. So I'm not sure if there's somebody there I can talk to. We can stripe it all up and everything if they want. No parking.
Can you talk a little bit about there was a comment, it's a zoning comment, I'm sorry, it's a general comment, the last one actually, requesting connectivity from Lake Street to the building entrance and bicycle parking pad, sidewalk connectivity.
Yes. Again, I did the development plan for the adjacent properties. I was sort of anything that we did there, what got approved there. There was no sidewalk out to Lake Street from here, so we did up all for connectivity and pedestrian traffic and whatnot. I just don't know if that would make sense. My thought is people coming out of these two, if they want to walk, they're going to go that way. Coming out of these two, people don't want to go that way. It depends on where they're heading. The bicycle rack is all the way over here. I'm not sure what a sidewalk next to the bicycle rack.
So the request, if you understand it, this, I'm assuming is straight back from the Blake Street sidewalk, it's like the sidewalk back along the side of the building.
To the bike path? Bike path over here.
Yeah.
I would want one back here to restrict them. I could do it.
I guess I like the design in terms of the parking being located behind the building. It's always desirable if it can be worked out that way. And there's no zoning relief requires that this is, looks like a carve out here. The zoning transitions from single family, not a carve out, but the transition from single family to
That wasn't-
medium.
Yeah.
It does here.
Any other planning commission members have any? Ms. Cohen?
Yes, please.
Yes.
I have a couple questions. I don't see a dumpster location. How is garbage and recycling handled here? Okay. And I don't see a handicap curb cut at the handicap parking space?
This is me.
Yeah, no. This isn't to avoid.
And you gave us some elevations of the building itself. Can you explain where the front of the building is and where the back of the building is?
If he doesn't put the curb in.
Right. Sure, if the elevations are going, I would.
Landscaping is the last sheet. Shows elevation.
You'd have to meet this requirement.
What's it? Ms. Cohen, did that answer your question? Any other questions for?
No, it did answer my question. He did say he's willing to put in the handicap curb cut and the the garbage and recycling bins were going to be at the curb.
Got it. Okay. Ms. Heller and Mr. Pfeiffer, other than the point Mr. Malozzi was bringing up, and I hate to,
In writing.
again, Mr. Parker made a comment. Mr. Parker, do you mind repeating that about the
I just assumed that
10,000?
if it was under 10,000 square feet of disturbance, and there was no requirement of a.
Mr. Pfeiffer, are we aware of Mr. Parker's comment concerning anything under 10,000 square feet? Its catch basin is not necessarily required. Is that correct in saying that?
Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable answering that question. I'd want Basil Yandam to answer that question or somebody from his department.
Mr.
Malozzi, yes.
The question of disturbance or impervious, because I think John Bolo said 9,000 and change of impervious, correct? But to build a building is going to require more than 10,000 disturbance. It's construction site. But disturbance would be greater.
Again, I don't feel, to steal Mr. Pfeiffer's wording, I don't feel comfortable because I'd like to hear from that engineer and certainly other than that component of the August 9th memo, sounds like you're willing to comply with everything else that the city has asked.
Yeah, and if the city's, the stance.
And even more so willing to continue the discussion on this catch basin or stormwater management, what have you. So with that said, Mr. Pfeiffer, is there anything else from the August 9th memo other than what we had brought up or what the applicant had mentioned?
Actually, everything has been covered that we were going to highlight this evening. I would say that Mr. Yandam did just respond to me and say he is able to come. He just needs a few minutes. If the board is amenable and willing to wait, great. If not, then we can proceed.
I will say, and again, I'm just one person. I'll open it up to the planning commission. I would feel more comfortable if he was here, or certainly we can table it to another time. I don't know what city staff feels like on that part. I don't know what fellow planning commission members feel. Mr.
I
Barker,
have no problem waiting around a little bit.
Mr. Malozzi, Ms. Cohen,
I'm okay waiting.
city staff okay with that?
Absolutely.
We will take
If-
a brief
Recess,
recess and we will wait for our engineer. Thank you.
my contribution.
That's good you're here.
Thank you. Test, 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 test.
There it's.
Are we on? All right. Thank you. We had a brief recess. Mr. Yandamar, city engineer, is here. I will allow the applicant to explain what we had heard when you were not here, so you're kind of caught up to speed on what's going on. Sir,
Okay, so your comment about adding an inlet to the back of that parking lot and piping the stormwater out to Lake Street and down to an inlet there is received. I have a couple of problems with that, is there's sewer and water on that side of between those two buildings, so piping stormwater out there would be difficult. My suggestion, alternative would be to make this a depressed curb along the rear parking and then stormwater just shoot flow. I believe the only stormwater coming this way is from the parking lot and half the driveway. I think a lot of that's going towards Lake Street. So just the stormwater flow over land.
I'm gonna switch here to the aerial view. If you, and this is where it's gonna flow back, right?
Yes.
It's gonna flow on your neighbor. And this is gonna cause us a problem later on. We have been facing this issue in previous buildings or property where water is flowing on neighbors, causing some flooding or any issues or any problem, and they're coming to the city to solve it. At the later stage, it won't be the city involved because it will be a civil matter, but we don't like to approve something like that could cause any problem at a later stage to any neighbor. That's why, if I go back to the water and sewer running across, we can either lower the storm water to go underneath it or make it higher than the water and sewer. The water and sewer has to be at a certain elevation. Usually the sewer is pretty low. The water has to be low for freezing and all of that. We can make it cross in a way. We can definitely work on the type of how to run the pipe from the back to the front, but letting the water flow on the neighborhood, we will not approve that as engineer, as stormwater. And that's the reason why we didn't let you just let it flow on the grass. There's not enough room for it to be absorbed by the grass area until it gets to your neighbor. That's why we would prefer that it's directed into the street, into our system, and drained out.
and Mr. Yandam, you recommend that's the only method to mitigate?
Unless they want to, and I'm pretty sure this is a higher cost would be if they create a management, like stormwater management on site. Like if they add a detention basin, they add underground basins that will slowly dissipate water into the ground, we're fine with that, but that's going to be additional cost on them, to be honest. That's why we did not recommend it. But this is another option if they don't want to pipe it to the street.
Was there any other option in your mind other than what you suggested, and certainly the catch basin as well?
I was going to suggest something similar behind the parking lot, but I think cost-wise, is probably going to be similar.
We're open to both options as long as stormwater is treated before it exits your property. Anyway, not treated. Is it like make sure it's collected and guided in a proper direction on your property, treated and distributed in the ground or into our system.
I don't know if it can happen, but technically, if I were able to raise that parking lot out the driveway to the street.
I'm fine with that. I usually prefer not to. I know it's too much to elevate. It's going to cost you a lot, but because the flowing everything on that driveway, it's flowing on the sidewalk. It's going to be a lot of water. If you're going to take all this water from this parking lot, flow on the sidewalk into the street, that's a lot of water flow. That could be iced during, like it might ice on a low temperature, cause issue on the sidewalk, and it will be safe for walking pedestrians.
Any other questions by the Planning Commission for Mr. Yandam? Ms. Cohen?
I have two more questions. We didn't talk more about the fire truck turning plan, and you mentioned that you didn't think it was necessary, but it is on the city's letter. Um, Is this something that we're comfortable addressing as having the city work with the developer? Or is this something that we can't address because we don't have a plan submitted?
I apologize, Ms. Cohen. I should have been more clear, so it was my fault. When I asked the applicant in terms of, other than that stormwater issue, you're in compliance to at least continue discussion with the city staff on that, or is that comment on the fire number 1 and number 2, I guess? The
1 and
fire
2.
comments, right? Is that what you mean, Ms. Cohen?
You would need at least a 65 radius. And we don't have that. There's no place to put that in. And I don't think, knowing firefighting a little bit, I don't think a fire truck would pull it in the driveway if this building was on fire. They pull out front here, they pull out this front and out here, and they would actually-
Mr. Pfeiffer, Ms. Heller, the comment number 2, I mean, is pretty clear cut. Was not provided with the latest submission. This plan shall be submitted for fire department review approval. I'm assuming it's been done in the past when an applicant applies for something. There can be some communication and collaboration to solve this problem, correct?
Correct. So these comments come from Deputy Fire Chief Craig Bear, and he's also our fire marshal. And what they typically look for is access to one side of a building and full access. Oftentimes when that can't be done through a driveway, they require a certain PSI concrete to be placed in a depressed curb. But those are things that this applicant can certainly work out with the Fire Bureau to ensure that safety is provided.
And I agree with Ms. Cohen. And again, I apologize that I wasn't more clear on that, but certainly that is something to, from a safety standpoint and the welfare of the community that, we obviously take serious, and we would hope, sir, that as you're moving forward with this, you will meet with Mr. Mayor and have those types of discussions. Ms. Cohen, is that?
That's fine. I didn't want it to get ignored. And another question, Mr. Pfeiffer, could you show us a street view of Blake Street? Great.
Google
And
didn't do a very
can you
good
see-
job of driving by recently.
Is the adjacent property on there with the,
That's not what it looks like now. You can see there's no vegetation.
is there some way to see the
Neighboring
the
property.
neighboring building there?
Part of me asking early on in this is because we approve some of those projects that were there, correct?
Right.
And I think it's a great infill project, and it melds and marries pretty good with the surrounding area, particularly the project that was approved by us a while ago. And I'm hoping that obviously the dialogue can continue with the city staff, and you can come to some type of agreement on this. Ms. Cohen, is that what you were looking for?
That's what I needed to see. So does your proposed building have decks on the back of it like this one? It's just the windows then? Okay.
Anything else for Mr. Yandom? I'm
I got just
sorry.
one I wanted to ask.
Yes, Mr. Mark.
Because before he got here, my question was, I just wanted to see what, if I was under the impression if stormwater management was not required with an inlet, if it's under 10,000 square feet, and that is under 10,000 square feet. So why is there a stormlet? Why is that required?
They are not they are not, it's not required to submit a full stormwater plan, but they have to still try to manage stormwater on site. If your stormwater is still going to affect your neighboring property, you have to manage it. You are not, you don't need to go and spend the extra money and all of that to create a full stormwater plan for your whole property. But you have to kind of try to capture and manage your water before it goes into the street or connect it properly. As long as it does not affect any neighboring, we're fine with it. But when it causes any issue towards your neighbors, we have to control it.
So if he does the cost estimate and a retention pond or some riprap or something would be cheaper, that's okay with the
I'm
city.
fine with it, as long as it's not dumping on the neighbor and causing issues.
But let's be clear about what we're doing tonight, right? This is before us for final land development approval. And, oftentimes we have the applicant agree to the conditions in the review letter, and that's then binding on the applicant. I don't want to put us in a position where we're a little too vague and open-ended
Right.
about the conditions that the applicant would agree with. I don't think we can kind of have a menu of options to choose from when we're granting approval tonight. So sort of pick one.
I would probably lean towards it would be cheaper. I didn't think of stormwater BMP. I would have to run through a lot of calculations. Costly for engineering, costly for construction. Deciding pipe pouring, discharging out of there as long as I can go grab it. Well, I'll be the first.
Would that suffice for the engineering department?
If he approves and he's okay with the inlet, installing the inlet, I'm good.
And I see counselors' comment. We obviously don't want to leave things too open-ended, but I know in the past we have always continued to have dialogue with our city staff and try to keep to the memo as best as possible. Similar to fire comments, we need to iron that out. And I'm listening to the applicant here saying that they will continue to meet with Mr. Baer and have that discussion. Any other comments by the city staff?
Cohen didn't finish her question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Cohen.
Question that you did. Is there any other question for me before I can head out?
Anything else for Mr. Yandom?
So Basil, the inlets will be aligning with
Yes.
item one? I mean,
Yes.
okay, it's, right. So item one is something that you'll agree to. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yandom.
You all. If you need anything, just reach out and we'll.
Ms. Cohen.
Thank you. I don't have an issue with the this elevation. I did see on the landscaping plan that you're providing significant trees on the street and additional shrubbery and foundation plantings. And so that will help dress up this elevation that faces the street. The side facing the parking lot is very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen. Any other questions or comments by the planning commission?
So just to be clear for
Counsel.
this evening, just because there's been some discussion, you'll agree to comply with all of the comments on the city's August 9th, 2024 review letter. So if the planning commission grants approval of the plan this evening, that approval is contingent upon compliance with all of these items.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, counsel. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Chairman Malosky,
Yes,
I'll make a motion to approve the land development plan for 1024 Blake Street, contingent upon meeting all of the conditions in the city's August 9th, 2024 review letter without exception, and with the addition of the installation of a handicap curb cut, and there's mention of trash enclosure.
No.
No, just with installation of a handicap curb cut
Appropriate in the rear of the building.
Mr. Malozzi made the motion. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Barker. Roll, please.
And
Oh.
the applicant agrees with the curb cuts as well?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Roll, please.
Mr. Malosky.
Yes.
Mr. Malozzi. Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Ms. Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Best of luck moving forward. Mr. Piper, Ms. Heller, any discussion items tonight?
We do. Just want to review the summary of upcoming Planning Commission agenda items and specifically just call out 838 Center Street has been submitted to us over a year and a half ago. They are coming up for another expiration. It is the city's position that they should withdraw this case if they're not willing to come before or not ready to come before you at that time. The Elliott Avenue project or case has been granted a 90-day extension from the date of expiration. So they are working on some issues with vehicle access and pedestrian access onto that site with our engineering bureau. So they will continue to work on that until they are ready to come back and present to you.
Is that the Paper Street one?
There is a paper street there. Yes, it's
Elliott.
it's my favorite avenue. It's Craig Avenue, and they're looking to vacate portion thereof. So the next one would be 608 Pierce Street. That review letter has just recently gone back out to the applicant, and the applicant will hopefully be able to clean that letter to a point that it can come before you for your September meeting. Moving forward, 2300 City Line Road, that is Bosch Rexroth and their expansion of a warehouse. And their intent is also to come before you in the September meeting. And their letter is going out as we speak. And last would be a sketch plan. It's the applicant's discretion if they want to seek that sketch plan. It's really just some minor questions they have in terms of potentially subdividing a lot on Mount Airy Avenue. You can anticipate seeing that also in September. And then one final note, I will not be at the September meeting. I will be out of the office on vacation. So I will not see your smiling faces in September, but I will be back to see you all in October.
A well-deserved vacation, Mr. Piper.
Thank you.
Please enjoy.
It's up for review.
Any other
What are the conditions?
Any other general comments before it gets out of hand there? Thanks, everyone. Coming motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Second, so moved. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Where are you?